Welcome to the Cats Pod. Ben Christian's here with the magnanimous
You already used
Eric
that one.
Lover. No, I used ignominious before.
Oh,
Now you're
okay.
magnanimous, which
Okay.
is the good version of it. I wanted to make sure that people know that you are well known and in demand.
Absolutely.
Um, we've got a new episode for you today. We're going to talk about some random stuff. We'll talk about what's going on in the FCS playoffs going on right now. We'll just finish up the first half of the semifinal. We did get to watch that game before we started talking here. Then we're going to get into probably talk about the portal,
Yep.
some different takes about different things, and the mass exodus that's happened from every single team in the country. It seems like as soon as they lose,
Yeah.
everybody flies away.
Yeah.
Do you want to start off talking about that SDSU game, Eric?
Yeah, let's do a quick recap. Basically, South Dakota State on every play throughout the entire game, including after they pulled their starters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're Albany. I don't know what happened to you, Albany, or if they just left it all out there against Idaho. But
I mean, I don't think you can use that much gas.
man,
Where you show like
the way South Dakota State looked, that is a unstoppable team.
Yeah.
I mean, if they play like that, it doesn't matter who they play. They're going to win by a couple scores. I mean, that Gronkowski take your pick of the receivers, whether it's the Yankee kid or that 6'7" tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just have chemistry.
That's 15 for 19, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid stat line I think they're more known as a running team, right?
Yeah.
SDSU in general.
Isaiah Davis had over 100 yards rushing for the 7th straight game?
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, the team is legit. The defense is legit. I mean, they shut out a team that made it to the semifinals of the FCS playoffs. I mean, what SDSU did is pretty incredible.
I mean, we all know, I've talked about it many times, how good Albany is with sticks. Like, they are a bunch of stickmen over there at the university, Albany. The hounds. The hounds out there. They are some dogs. There's some dogs over there. The Danes. The Danes. I think I can call it Dana Hound, But basically, we figured out today that at every single position, in every single position group through the third string, I'm pretty sure SDSU is better.
Oh, yeah. There's absolutely no doubt in that.
When you have a bounced punt come at you, and he just receives it and shakes one dude out of his cleats, and then you think, okay, he's going to get like 10, 15 yards on this, and all of a sudden he's in the end zone.
Yeah.
Like, those type of things were happening all over the field, all the entire game long. Every time you looked up at the screen, you go down to check Twitter. You're going through Twitter, you look up, they've scored 7 more points. It was every single time.
Well,
it's an amazing game for SDSU.
30 seconds after half, a scoop and score on defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just South Dakota State is just in another league right now. I mean, people made a pretty big deal about the game last week, Villanova keeping it somewhat close with them after they beat, was it Mercer 41-0 or something like that? They came out with they needed to settle a score there.
They're playing angry.
Yeah. Make sure everybody knows exactly what is supposed to be happening.
I was like, what did Albany do to these people? They seem legitimately hurt out there the way they were playing today. They were looking for revenge of some kind. I mean, I'm still in my family group chat right now, just going at the only SDSU fan I know, because I'm pretty sure he's the only one that exists from the looks of that stadium tonight. I don't know how do you sell tickets for $7 a piece and you don't sell out a stadium? How many people live in Brookings?
I mean,
is it that small of a town?
It's not a huge town by any stretch, I don't know how many people are in Brookings, but it's not a city by any means.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I mean, it did look a little chilly there, but I mean, we sold out Bobcat Stadium when game day showed up. It was like 14 below zero.
Exactly. And you're still like, what is it, 24,000 strong there?
I think
we have double the people at every single home game for MSU.
Yeah. I think the big thing for South Dakota State is like I just hope that their fans aren't taking this for granted because as you brought up in the intro, the portal deal, it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost makes a guy wonder if like this, South Dakota State has made themselves into, I don't want to say dynasty, but this is a recruitment class that's all stayed together somehow
Mm-hmm.
through the whole thing. They're working on another, pretty high likelihood of a second national championship. I mean, I don't know if those fans are appreciating what's in front of them and what's
Exactly.
so available for them to go watch.
Could you imagine being on this team and you
Oh,
just won 59-0, and then you look up and you see all of those empty seats out there?
I don't.
Like, it would be kind of demoralizing, but at the same time, you're winning another national championship. But it's weird. It's so weird that they don't have a fan base that shows up for games.
It is, and I think it has been a bit of a problem in the entire FCS for a lot of years, just
Mm-hmm.
not being able to fill stadiums. I know we've talked about it before, and you know, especially some of those Big Sky Conference games,
Yeah.
where you're watching, like a Cal Poly stands or something like that, where
Mm-hmm.
there's, you know, 600 people
Yeah.
there to watch the football game, and then all of a sudden, we watch the game at the Kibby Dome, and the Kibby Dome is full,
Yeah.
and we watch obviously Washington Grizzly sells out.
Mm-hmm.
The Bobcat games are selling out, and we're just getting used to seeing full stadiums. And then we go right back to South Dakota State, who is a unanimous number one and favorite to win it all,
Mm-hmm.
and they get 12,000 people
Yeah.
there. So I don't know. I just it's kind of like professional sports, those spoiled fan bases, man.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's so much that or it's just the way it's always been for SDSU. It may have just always been like that where people just don't go to the games. I don't see how you can support a program financially. I think that might be a big barrier for them to actually become a dynasty, like you were saying, where they're on the cusp of that, where they have a great group right now and a great culture right now. But to extend that into like generation after generation, you need money,
Yeah.
and they can't be generating that much money. And we were just talking about articles last week about NDSU and how they're trying to bolster their collective there so that they can offer six figures to players because that's what they're getting offered at other places, and that's why everybody's leaving the portal. And so how is SDSU going to be able to compete if they don't have the fan base to support it?
So it looks like population of Brookings is about 25,000 in 2021.
Yeah.
So not a huge place by any stretch of the word, but I mean, there's a fair amount of people there, fair amount of students. I know students should have still been in their dorms, probably. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I don't know when they would have left for Christmas. They may have already left for Christmas, but you have to think if your team is playing in the semifinal, students are going to stick around, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a bit
Tickets are
disappointing.
$7. Could you imagine? Okay?
Yeah.
Tickets are the price of a beer
Yeah.
downtown in Bozeman. And you can get into the game for that instead of paying whatever like $50 normally for like a decent seat if you're getting it before it sells out, you
Yeah.
know?
No, I know, if I was a South Dakota State fan, there's no way I would have missed that one.
No.
Especially the way it turned out. Those are my favorite wins.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have to worry about anything. Stress-free W's are the
Mm-hmm.
best there is.
Now that I feel the need to flip it, maybe SDSU fans are like the podcasts. They're few, but they're die hard. Okay, the Jackrabbits don't have many fans, but the fans they got, they're fans for life. Let me tell you, they are ride or die fans.
It's interesting because maybe it's something to do with UAlbany itself.
Yeah.
Because my father-in-law was at both games against South Dakota State this year and semifinals last year, and it was full.
Oh.
They filled the stadium on those ones. and it was loud.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was Montana State. Maybe the South Dakota State fans just saw Albany and were like, I'll pass.
Could be. It's just tough. It's tough to think that you're going to say pass to a semifinal game or
I
any
know.
playoff football
I
game.
know.
I love playoff football. I couldn't imagine just sitting at home and watching it when I know I could be there.
Yeah.
It would just be a different thing.
But nonetheless, South Dakota State absolutely wallops Albany. I mean,
Look at
from the very first time South Dakota State touched the ball, it was never close.
no. It was tough. When they were up 14-0 in the second quarter, I was like, right now I feel like Albany's hanging by like a very loose thread right now. One loose thread of hope where if they score a touchdown right now or if they make a big play happen, all of a sudden they could turn it into a game and then 2 touchdowns happen after that. And I was like, I think that thread is long gone.
Yeah.
That one thread of hope
it doesn't exist.
is long. It doesn't exist. It never existed. I made it up in my brain. That's all that it was. It was just a figment of my imagination.
Yeah. I mean, they were just clicking, man. There's just nothing else to say about that game. South Dakota State's a powerhouse, and they flexed on those guys big time.
So in the other semifinal matchup over there at Washington Grizzly Stadium, how are you feeling about this game?
I don't know. I don't like this game.
It's not fun. It's not a fun game. It's not a nice game. There's nothing good about it.
Here's my thing. Montana is loaded with guys from Montana. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like those players. I wish they weren't playing for the Grizzlies. I know that. But I want those guys to have success. But after Cat Grizz and just Grizz fans in general, I don't want them to win. But I hate North Dakota State. I hate them so much. I can't even explain how sick and tired I am of North Dakota State. I don't want to hear anything about them ever again.
Their colors are ugly.
I'm sick.
Their mascot is ugly.
Yeah, dude, their colors remind me of when my 3-year-old gets really sick and throws up in his bed.
Exactly. And I mean, actually, we should get that checked on.
Yeah.
I don't like that. That might be a problem. If his puke is that ugly,
yeah.
If his puke is that ugly, that's a problem. That is not good in any way, shape, or form. Okay.
But I mean, how do you choose? I mean, like I said, I want the Montana kids to succeed, and I do not want North Dakota State to win. I cannot stomach the idea, especially after losing to them. I can't stomach the idea of them winning. So I gotta hope that Montana can pull this one off. But I also can't sit here and listen to Grizz fans talk about going to Frisco for the next, because this one will probably last at least a years.
Decade.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say over 10 years, but 15 might be closer to it. We should put the over under at 12.5 on the years for that.
I agree. They'll never shut up about it. We'll have to hear about it every time they open their mouths about how they went to Frisco and the Cats didn't. In 2023.
Yep.
And yeah,
it's gonna be tough. I think we're very much in a South Park situation at this point with our fandom. We have a political race going on between two teams.
Yeah.
One is a giant douche and one is a turd sandwich. Okay, and we have to decide we're gonna cheer for one of them. And I hope we don't have to decide.
That's a fantastic analogy.
That is what our personal situation is here. Like I can't even say I'm happy for either of the fan bases.
Just because you brought that up, if you were in a political situation, would you vote for a giant douche or a turd sandwich?
Giant douche or a turd sandwich? I think I'm going with a giant douche.
Oh man, I think turd sandwich has a lot going for it.
But a giant douche has a use, It has a purpose in life. It has a goal that it needs to accomplish, and it is necessary for the proliferation of the human race.
Okay.
A turd sandwich is just 2 pieces of bread with something that's going to kill you in the middle.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair
enough. I can live with that argument. But back on track. Bottom line is I just can't. The thought of North Dakota State going back to the championship is just too much for me. I can't handle that. Their fans are so overly cocky all the time. They're arrogant. They have to run. I mean, the keyboard warriors. There are a lot of Montana keyboard warriors, but the North Dakota State ones are just about intolerable.
They're going hard. They're going hard right now, hard in the paint, and they are just atting people left and right. And it is a war zone on the internet for all Cat fans right now.
It is.
All Cat. We're catching strays for weeks now, weeks after the game happened. Yeah. And it's still just like bringing up Montana State. We messed up 3 plays all year, guys. Yeah. We messed up 3 plays the entire year. And all of a sudden, we're just like the garbage and the laughing stock of the entire conference. It's stupid.
It's like you say, the Cat players and the Cat coaches don't have to worry about anybody online because we'll take them on.
We got them.
We have been. And it hasn't been spectacularly fun. I mean, every time I say, "Oh, a notification on Facebook. This should be good. Let's see what this is." North Dakota State fan coming after me again.
Yeah.
They dredge things up. I mean, all I said on one post, and I'm still getting feedback from it. I said, Cats by 50, which is just, I just stole that from Kentucky's deal that says Cats by 90.
Exactly.
I just moved it to 50 to make it a little different.
It's just a common thing that is said on the internet.
I mean, it's normal. And they're pulling that up. And so then
they're like, well, actually, the analytics say that I don't think that the Cats will win this game by 50 points. I doubt they would win it by double digits even. Yeah. Like, they're treating it like it's not a joke. They're treating it like it's an actual prediction for the game.
Yeah. Well, they kept coming back at me so many times. I finally got fed up with it, and it was this lady, and I go, boy, it would sure be funny if North Dakota State lost to USD twice in one season.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. So then we started all up again. Then the Cats lose, and she's still pulling this from weeks and weeks ago.
Yep. Is it on the same post?
Yes.
She keeps coming back to you. She's like, I think that is the definition of what the kids would call rent-free.
Oh.
I think you are living rent-free in one North Dakota woman's which is like the least possible place I want to be found. Yeah. I wouldn't really want to live in North Dakota. There's some great people there, but it's not a very scenic area, you know? I mean, we don't live in the most scenic area, but we are like 20 minutes away from very scenic areas, you know?
I mean, bottom line is North Dakota doesn't have anything going for it other than some pretty cool sunsets, the oil fields, and North Dakota State, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
That's it.
So, not easy to live rent-free in somebody's head over there, I guess.
Yeah. They're letting anybody in. They're welcoming all lessees.
But to get to the game, I mean, sports betting has it as a complete toss-up, and they throw out home field advantage. They're not even factoring that in.
It's not laying at 1.5. I thought they had the
minus 1.5 North Dakota State.
Yeah, home dogs.
Yeah.
Home dogs for the Grizzlies. That is disrespect.
It is. But you have to look at it this way. North Dakota State, Matt Enns, the head coach for North Dakota State, he's been there a while. And he has
Whoa. I thought we wanted this guy fired like 3 weeks ago.
I didn't really
3 weeks ago, I thought that, well, the woman that you live inside of her head in North Dakota.
Oh, yes.
The old lady that lives in the shoe, but you live up inside her head.
Yes.
She wanted this guy fired like 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
But now, he's a pretty good coach, right?
Right. But this guy's been on all, these stabs for quite a while when they were going in and knocking off Power 5 schools on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
They know what it's like to play in a loud stadium. Remember that game they went into Iowa when Iowa was a top. They were up there in the rankings, top 15, top 25 at least.
Yes.
They went into Iowa City, which I've been there personally. That place is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely filled. Got to be 30, 40, 50,000 people in there. It's loud.
The South Dakota State fan base would fill one corner of one section of that stadium.
Yeah, probably like their band section.
Yeah, the band. There's more people in the band at Iowa State than there is there.
Iowa.
At Iowa. Sorry. God, hey, I just wanted to get the reaction.
But yeah, no, they went in there. They knock off Iowa, and they beat plenty of big schools. They were on those games. They were getting paid to come in, and so I have a hard time believing that the crowd will be that big of a factor. Like, their head coach knows what it's like to be in a stadium like that. Mm-hmm. I have to imagine he'll have them ready.
I mean, they just won a big overtime game against us.
It was loud.
And it was loud in that stadium. It was not, loud. Especially in like the third and fourth quarter. It took a while for the noise to pick up, but it picked up, and they handled it. They have smart coaching, smart players.
Yeah.
Nothing against them ever. Just your fans suck. But but it's just something where I don't know who exactly to pick in this game. I think Eli Gilman and the offensive players for Montana, I really enjoy watching them play. Junior Bergen, these are players that can be electric at times. I really got to say, they are some very talented players, and they just, the game that they played against Furman last week, to kind of take it back, since I don't think we ever really talked about that.
Yeah.
That was a situation where they had to have a lot of very clutch plays.
Well, and
it was an offensively one game until the defense shut them down in overtime.
If we're going to go back to that game, that was one of the funnest games I've watched in a while. That was, aside from any Bobcat game, obviously those are better. That was a super fun game.
Yeah.
But Montana's offense has to play better than it did in that game. They're not going to beat North Dakota State if they can. I mean, you take away Junior Bergen's 2 special teams touchdowns and they lose that game.
Yeah.
You can't always count on special teams to score points. I mean, doesn't happen all that often.
No.
It's rare. I mean, it happened a lot last weekend, but you can't count on that.
And you can't think that NDSU is going to let that happen.
Right.
It's going to be a different type of situation on that squad. Furman looked like a team where they could fill 75% of their roster with really solid players.
Yeah.
And then there was a 25% that they were trying to make up for.
Right.
Like there was a lot of guys that were over hustling because it seemed like they were making up for other players' mistakes. And that's not going to be the case against NDSU.
Yeah. I mean, and watching that game, Furman had a ton of missed opportunities. There were so many drop balls in that game. I mean, that quarterback is a pretty good player, to be honest with you. In all honesty, the drop passes is what killed them from winning that game.
It definitely did, because he put a lot of balls in a lot of spots. The overtime passes, at least, those were very difficult balls to catch.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhat catchable, but it's very difficult to catch those balls. But those are the kind of plays you got to make in overtime. You're going to have to make some crazy play where you catch a ball like that. There's not going to be really much wide open.
I mean, the fact of the matter is Montana missed 2 field goals in that game, and they only scored 21 points on offense.
Mm-hmm.
That is not how you beat North Dakota State.
No.
Their defense played pretty well, but they gave up a lot of points, and they gave up big plays. Montana's got to button that down if they have a hope of, if you take Furman's quarterback and North Dakota State's quarterback, they're both hyper athletic guys that can run, and they both have a very good arm.
Mm-hmm.
They're very similar.
Yep.
But I would give North Dakota State's receivers the edge over Furman's for sure.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to figure out how to shut the North Dakota State offense down, because 21 points on offense isn't going to cut it.
No.
They're going to have to score 4, probably 5 touchdowns. This is probably going to be a shootout.
I think that's the best case scenario. I don't know. The way that I've seen Montana's defense operate before, I think that they will have the ability to limit them on points. But even that being said, even like my idea of limiting points against them is like 28.
Yeah.
Or like 34 points.
Yeah.
It's not like you're really limiting them. That's still a very high scoring game.
No, it's 2 high octane teams that are flying around all the time that are going to meet head to head in Washington Grizzly, and whoever's defense can hold somebody to 21 points will win that game.
And you can't say outside of SDSU that there is a team that has built more momentum in these playoffs than North Dakota State.
Oh, the money has come in. Officially, Montana Grizzlies are minus 135 at home.
So they're no longer road dogs?
They are favored.
Or no longer home dogs?
Favored.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I was sure that line was going to move just because I know on Montana Sports Bet, a lot of Montana people are going to bet for Montana and move that line pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't move more than that, to be super honest. But it is the most enticing of the two semifinal games. I don't think anybody was really looking forward to the SDSU game that happened tonight. I don't even want to mention the other team because it seems like they weren't there.
They no-showed. They no-showed.
It could happen like that for the Danes.
No, I think, I don't know. I mean, tomorrow's game is a complete toss-up. I think I would probably favor the Grizzlies to win just off of what my eyes tell me and my brain tells me.
Yeah.
But North Dakota State has a championship pedigree, and they know how to win.
Oh yeah,
they know how to win big games. They know how to win tight games. So, you can't count them out. But, I will throw up if they win.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm going to throw up if either team wins. I'm not going to be happy about it. You know, it's not going to be an exciting affair either way. But
yeah,
we'll see what the national championship is going to be like at least.
Yeah.
I guess we could kind of transfer over to talking about the things that have been going on with each one of these teams as they lose out.
Yeah. I think actually what we should talk about first instead of transfers is promotions.
Promotions. Go ahead.
Promotions. Bobby Daly.
Oh, yeah.
New D coordinator for our Montana State Bobcats. They're not going to renew the contract for Willie Mack.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I can't think of a better guy to replace him.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a guy who is a local, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, an All-American linebacker for the Bobcats.
Yep.
And he was, watching him play, he was never the most athletic guy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The guy has a brain.
Yep.
His football intellect is off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
He's the perfect guy for the job. And I think, I said that last episode we did, I said, trust Coach Vegan.
Mm-hmm.
If he sees something where a change needs to be made, he'll do it. And he did. And we've got a new defensive coordinator for the Bobcats. And honestly, I think this was the right choice to replace Willie Mack.
I'm really glad to see a promotion happen.
Right.
Rather than trying to go through the entire process of interviewing coaches, because that always gets really sketchy.
Yeah.
When you're talking to coaches on teams that are still playing football, and it always becomes kind of like a hit or miss thing. That part of the NCAA season is always super awkward. And I'm just glad to see that we're keeping things within the system.
Yeah,
I
like that too.
Keeping it with a guy that the players all know, and I'm guessing if he's getting this promotion, there's somebody that they enjoy being around a little bit at least, or they respect him and they want to play for him. So they may get a bump just from him stepping up and getting another job.
When he filled in for Willie Mack against Weaver last year,
mm-hmm.
when he got that game suspension, and Daly filled in for him and did what I thought was a pretty bang up job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super happy to see this hire. I really, and everyone I talk to is super pumped to see who's going to be our next defensive coordinator. It mm-hmm. seems pretty universal.
Yeah.
That everybody's happy about this. But I love the local thing. This mm-hmm. this guy has come up through Montana. all the way to Montana State. I think he played for Capital in Helena. It was Capital High, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he played there. I can't be happier about that promotion.
Yeah.
I think it was the right move at the right time.
Yeah. It definitely seems like the perfect type of move to keep things consistent and keep us moving forward.
Yeah. And not saying this is the end of changes, but I think this was a big one. I think it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, we'll have to see what other kind of changes are made coaching staff wise. Right now, I don't foresee any more people getting pushed out, fired, no new contract. But I'm thinking we might have some changes in like the structuring of the coaching staff that might shake things up a little bit.
Yeah,
But that's the only thing I could see happening, just to not spread some people out so thin. Hopefully, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think as far as offensive coordinator, of course, we know absolutely nothing about what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we're sticking with House right, not sticking with House right. I mean, going to be pretty hard to replace somebody who orchestrated the number one rushing offense in the entire FCS and the number one scoring offense in the entire FCS.
Except for Davidson. We got to find that offensive coordinator out of Davidson. I think that's it.
Not saying everybody has faults, but that's pretty tall task to replace. And I wonder if there isn't going to be maybe a specific special teams coach come into the mix at some point. But I mean, I kind of almost wonder, I kind of wonder if Udi wouldn't be a great offensive guy at some point, but who knows? But
we'll see. It's a lot of speculation, and it's hard to know who's going to move up and move down because we don't know these guys.
Nobody's giving us any inside information. Yeah.
We thought we were just going to become like the Rappaport of the Montana State team, but they all of a sudden aren't hitting us up on our 3 cell phones.
Literally nobody is sliding in our DMs here.
I opened up 2 more cell phone lines because I thought that people were going to magically start hitting me up. Do I have to actually start contacting people myself? Because that's terrifying. I'm terrified to go talk to any of these people. I don't know why, but I feel like a little kid. Like I feel like I'm in high school and I'm trying to go talk to the popular kids, and I'm worried that the popular kids are going to judge me every time I try and slide into a player or a coach's DMs. I'm just like, they're going to reject me. They think I'm stupid. They think I'm so stupid.
No, I mean, I'm super, super happy for that hire, and I think it's going to lead to a lot of success for the Bobcats.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Now let's get to the portal.
To the portal, the TP. Should we? I kind of wanted to start calling it the TP.
Yeah,
because instead of the transfer portal, the TP, and not because I think it's trash. Like we love the transfer portal because the transfer portal giveth, and the transfer portal taketh away.
It does
at the same time.
Everybody has equal opportunity in the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what school you are. I mean, we watched Jace Fitzgerald sign with your University of Montana Western Bulldogs.
Yep, that makes sense.
It does.
He's going home.
Yeah,
you can't really argue with going home.
He's going home.
I have seen firsthand the way that those Dillon Bulldogs are treated when they are in Dillon, Montana, and it is like Texas Forever, Friday Night Lights, all of that. They even call it Titletown. In Dillon, they unironically refer to themselves as Titletown. And so I know that it is just amazing for all those Bulldogs to go back, or not the Bulldogs, but the Beavers to go back home.
Yeah. No, I think watching the transfer portal, the Cats got off easy. Really?
It seems like it.
Idaho, on the other hand,
not so
woof.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the transfer portal. I mean, the NFL got them too.
Mm-hmm.
You have Hayden Hatton. He announced either today or yesterday, I can't, that he is declaring for the NFL draft. Their kicker, who is extremely talented, announced for the NFL draft. They lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
They lost their running back. both absolute studs and All-Americans.
Yep.
They lost their first team All Big Sky corner.
Yep.
They lost their number 2 wide receiver graduated and their number 3 wide receiver transferred. I mean, the team just got gutted.
The sleeping giant may need to slumber for a little bit longer. It's still gestating.
I mean, but then you look at the entire FCS, and these guys who had success are getting to move up, and this is the thing that just drives me nuts: is how can you blame them? How can anybody, if you say that these kids have to sit there with their team, and of course everybody wants them to. Of course I want our players to stick with us. But you can't honestly sit back and say you wouldn't do the exact same thing. Because it is the right decision to make. I mean, these guys are weighing every single consequence of their decision. If I transfer, will I even get to start? Well, that's a big part of their decision making, right? And if they decide to transfer anyway, obviously the chances of them starting are probably high, or they don't care. There's another reason. So it's like people who sit back and try and be all almighty about this thing, they're liars. Everybody would do it. You can only have so much loyalty before it starts standing in the way of your actual future. And the future of your family.
I feel like we should add a little bit of context to this.
Let's do that.
Because Eric and I both listened to a podcast today. I won't name any names, but it was a podcast that covers the Big Sky Conference, and there were 2 gentlemen on there that were just, let me tell you, if everybody could just stay off their lawns, please. I think that would be nice. But they were going off about all of these players in the transfer portal, people entering the transfer portal too many times, different things like that. And the thing that made me angry about it was that they kept bringing up how hard that these student athletes have to work, which is incredibly hard. Student athletes have to go through so much more than anybody else. And they were talking about how they looked back on their glory days where they were struggling through it and they didn't have any money. And like, that supposedly is something that kids need to go through.
Right.
And I'm like, that is not something that anybody has to go through. Like, if you look at the old NCAA system, by definition, it is indentured servitude. They give you room, they give you board, and that's it.
And you have a cap on anything you could possibly make.
Exactly. They control all your money, and it's not set by the market at all. Even though the market is outrageous, none of that money is going to the players. And it is so ridiculous that people are still having this discussion after everything that's gone through. And there are some bad things that are happening with NIL and the transfer. And there are some bad situations. But that is part of life, That is part of life more than anything.
Well, my entire point is that, okay, Ben, you are, for instance, you are a wide receiver for the Montana State Bobcats.
Okay, let's go tight end.
Totally.
I want to be a tight end.
Tight end.
Okay, I'm a tight end.
Totally hypothetical. And you go out there and have a Dallas Goedert-like season at South Dakota State, where you are just better than everybody else.
Yes.
And somebody your season's over. Somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, buddy, I'm with the University of Nebraska, or I'm with Penn State, or something like that. And guess what? I got $100,000 that says you're going to come to Penn State." If you say no, why would you?
You're making the worst fiscal decision of your entire life up to that point.
Number one, you're going to go to a massive school, which is, not to say that Montana State isn't a fantastic school, because it is, but it's different when you're at a big school. It's just different. And I can say that because I've done it. I went to a Big 12 school. It's just a different kind of environment. It's fun. And number two, you're turning down a bunch of money that you would not get staying put.
Yes.
And number three, you might get a chance to play on a Power 5 school.
Yeah.
Why on earth would you ever turn that down? And if anybody says they would, they're just lying to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because bottom line is everybody is trying to do what's best for themselves. And if somebody comes in and offers you money to come play for a big school because you're good at football, you have to take it.
Yeah. Another thing that really irked me about this interview was that they brought up the coaching part of it for like a second.
Yes.
And the only thing that they said about the coaches were like, coaches are allowed to transfer and get bigger jobs, which is fine. Like, nothing against that. Coaches that are deserving should always move up and always get better jobs. I have nothing against that, but they were saying the coaches can do it because they're trying to feed their families and they have families and all this stuff. And I thought it was completely narrow-minded because there are players who don't need to feed their families, but there are players that do. There are players out there right now that are 18, 19-year-old kids where their families are depending on them.
Yeah.
You know, they might be in a situation where they have like a single parent home and they have a mom that is just trying to support everybody, and the only chance that they have is for their son that's coming up and he has to take care of the entire family.
Yeah.
And he needs to take the most money available to him right now.
Well, and God forbid somebody just try and do what's best for themselves. Just get ahead a little bit. I mean, everything is one giant rat race. You know, you're always trying to figure, you know, when you're in college, you're always trying to figure out where the next, you know, what you're going to do next, you know, scrap and buy, you know. We both did it. We never had any kind of money in it. Imagine if you did. It'd be a lot easier to go to college if you had, you know, some money sitting in your bank account.
It gets rid of a lot of worries and a lot of stress that you have to deal with throughout it. And I think that can help you out with all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
It's this idea that trauma makes you better. Trauma is something that holds you back and you push through it, you know? It doesn't improve you to go through trauma. It just means that you could have gone further. You know, if somebody puts more weight on your back, it doesn't mean that you're going to get better by doing that. You're going to get stronger overall, but that weight is always still going to be there.
The other thing about that podcast that kind of got under my skin was they kept saying, how can you have any continuity if you're having constant turnover on your roster? It's like, okay, you know, I can kind of see the continuity thing a little bit, where if you're losing guys, you know, there's going to be some confusion at some point, or you know, just a lack of cohesiveness at some point. But you have hired a coaching staff to smooth transition, right?
Yeah.
And if your coaching staff is doing their job, there should always be people coming in and coming in and coming in.
Yes.
So the people going out, yeah, okay, so Montana State lost 3 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
But there are just as good offensive linemen right behind them.
Yes.
That have been here, that have gone through an entire season. You know,
or we have the coaching staff that's going to make those guys just as good as the guys that were ahead of them. And they are hungry to be on the field.
And every team has the same opportunity to transfer portal. There are guys that are playing a level above what they should be in the FBS right now that probably need to come down to the FCS that you have full access to, along with every other college program in the entire nation. So just because you lose a few doesn't mean you can't go get more. So the transfer portal rules are strange, and I don't think anybody actually knows what the rules are.
Yeah.
Case in point, Raekwon Battle.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
But, no idea.
I mean, bottom line is the transfer portal's here. I doubt it's going anywhere. Just have to learn to live with it. And if that means, you know, some guys are going to use the FCS as a springboard to get up, go for it.
There's going to be 2 types of programs going into the future. There's going to be the ones that lean into the transfer portal and all of these things and all of these changes, and they're going to excel because of it. And there's ones that are going to complain about it and just say outlandish things about how terrible it is, and they are going to fall behind because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, you either get behind it or you don't.
You either get behind the transfer portal or you fall behind.
Yeah.
You start losing players. You start losing opportunities.
Yeah. But bottom line is everyone has access to the transfer portal. Every coach has access to the transfer portal. You can get players in just as fast as you lose them.
Mm-hmm.
If your coach is good, they'll be out recruiting. I
Yep.
know our coach is out recruiting
Oh yeah.
because he has commitments lining up daily.
Left and right.
Yeah.
They're coming from all directions.
Yeah. We got a big one
Left, right,
from
front,
Washington.
center, front, back, every direction you can think of, they are coming to us.
Yeah.
Because we treat players correctly, and it's not going to be a problem. But as far as Montana State goes with the transfer portal, I would love to see if we just make our goal entirely to get the best possible Montana guys that we can build a culture off of and keep those guys around for year after year. And then we just fill in spots with the most talented players we can get from all across the country.
Yeah.
And they'll come in, and that cat culture it's infectious. They're going to get infected with that cat culture. They're going to fall in love with playing in Bozeman, and then they're going to want to be cats, just like the players that we've seen this year.
Great segue by bringing up cat culture, because that's the other part of this podcast that really crawled under my skin, is because later on in the episode, they started talking heavily about Montana State after the loss to North Dakota State. And they said that there seemed to be a rift in the team, a fracture or something,
Yeah.
something along those lines. And when I listened to them say that, I grimaced, because that is not what I've witnessed.
No.
That is not what I saw. What I saw is our field goal kicker struggles, and Sean Chambers runs out there from the 50-yard line to give him a hug.
Yeah.
One of our other field goal kickers struggles, gets replaced, and who's the first person to go out there and congratulate Casey on making a field goal?
It's right there.
Brendan Hall.
Yeah.
The cat culture is they're those players got each other.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. And for those guys to bring that up, they obviously weren't paying that much attention to it.
I don't know how their focus could be that split, or you're just making a mountain out of a molehill, which is like 10 seconds of interaction you see on the sideline, or rumors that you hear about, which mean nothing.
Yeah.
You hear about a rumor about a coach or players that are fighting with each other, and if you make that the entirety of what the team means to each other, it doesn't put anything into perspective. And when you talk about like the special teams and you're only talking about the place kicking, that's not something that's effective at all.
Yeah,
it's ignoring a lot of the other aspects of special teams where we were top in the country.
Well, they completely ignored the fact that Brendan Hall is the number one punter in the entire country.
Yeah.
Like, that is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That's an impressive stat to leave out.
Especially when he's 6'9".
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, did you know he was 6'9"?
I didn't. I mean, I thought he was 6'9", but he might be 6'10".
Yeah.
He grows every week.
I saw a video on Twitter. Brendan Hall was out there booting kicks in his off season, 59-yard punts.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Probably dropping it on a dime at the half-yard line.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, of course, everybody knows that there was an issue with the place kicking this year, but you can't ignore the fact that they still had the number one punter. And say what you will, you don't become the number one punter without good coaching, right?
Yeah.
I don't think. I could be wrong.
everything factors in, and it's all everything. And if we didn't put our kicking unit in positions where they have to make these game-winning plays, we're not talking about this.
Yeah.
If somebody makes a play on offense or defense, we're not talking about this. But we're not going to blame the offense or the defense. And we're not going to blame the special teams as much. I mean, there are plays we would love to see them go the opposite way.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to those single plays, it's up in the air.
Yeah.
It's completely up in the air.
It really is. But, I think what we've seen in this last week inspires a lot of confidence. Vegan comes out, he sees a change that needs to be made. He makes the change. He makes the right choice in the change. At least I think he did. And then the team can start to heal and fix itself from what was an extremely devastating loss, because that doesn't just happen overnight.
No.
You don't just recover from that.
No.
And I think now Daly's going to add a little bit of spice into this defense, something a little new, something a little different. And
we have a lot of very talented players coming in on the defensive side too.
Yeah.
That we are looking very much forward to getting to know better and better on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah. I mean, I get on Twitter 3-4 times a day just to see who the new signings are.
Yeah.
Because they're coming in hot and heavy.
Oh, yeah.
And they're good ones, really good ones.
Mm-hmm.
I've been awfully impressed with the job Vegan's out there doing and the entire coaching staff.
Yeah.
Those guys are out there recruiting their butts off and doing exactly what we need them to do to replace some key people that we lost.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing about, the players that we did lose is that we have equally as good players waiting. They're
hungry.
Yeah, they're ready to take the spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, unlike Idaho, we lost 3 offensive linemen, but we got 3 to take their spot. I mean, we had the deepest offensive line in the entire FCS, and I don't think that's arguable.
And we still have an anchor in Connor Moore,
Marcus Ware.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go JT Reed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got a Cole Sane.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
Perkins is he's sticking with us.
Yep.
I mean, the offensive line is in great shape still, even with losing a couple absolute dogs.
Yeah. And you would think, I mean, just from what I know about Jason Kelsey, I think that the center is possibly the most important part of the line.
Yeah.
Because they're doing a lot of the shift calls and different things like that. Line-wise, I don't know how much that happens at the NCAA level, but I got to think that it's important to keep that continuity. And there's still a lot of very talented offensive linemen that are going to be back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, the Bobcats are looking just as tough.
Mm-hmm.
And, another part of that podcast I thought was funny is they kept saying the Bobcats were looking at it as a national championship or bust. I don't think that's ever true, right? I mean, unless you're North Dakota State where you've won 25 championships in the last 10 years, if you ask their fans.
I don't think it's a bust if you don't make it, but I think we're all always hoping, It's always the dream to get to that national championship and finally get to the top of the mountain, but it's not a bust. It's not a bust.
Man, I just don't want a losing season. How about I'm a Vikings fan. Let's put it that way.
I'm going to set my goals a little bit higher than it's just not having a losing season. I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I'm like, I want it to be better than 500. I mean, if we're like 500 and we beat the Grizz, that's fine.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
But that's the only way that's going to be okay.
I mean, the number one job security for a head coach at Montana State is beating the Grizz.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
Beat the Grizz, you're safe.
You're safe.
You're good.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't know. Tomorrow's going to be fascinating to see what happens because I'm going to go into it rooting for the Grizzlies. Mm-hmm. But I can't swear that it'll stay that way, even though I think by the end of it, I'll be rooting for both teams. South Dakota State wins by default.
Earlier this week, I called it a fight between 2 of your ex-girlfriends, where you only want to see both of them lose the fight.
Yeah. No, that's a great analogy
Yeah.
because that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Just going to be a high level game of two teams I really don't like.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think we got to say thank you to all the podcasts out there. Thanks to everybody who's continued listening to us, even though we don't have a season to talk about right now.
Hey, we're an FCS podcast.
Oh yeah, FCS podcast now. FCS Cats Pod.
Yeah.
Any there's no cats left in, but I wish there was like a wildcat or something else like that, like
we
cougar
could get behind
or something like that, or like what is South Dakota is the
Jackrabbits.
South Dakota.
Oh,
They
coyotes.
were the coyotes. Okay, they got that paw on there. I thought they might be a cat.
Yeah, the coyotes.
Thank you to everybody. We're planning some things for over the off season. We got some things in the works. Hopefully, we'll be making some big announcements in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month out. We'll be figuring some things out. But any players, coaches, anybody who wants to come on the podcast, we would really appreciate that. Thank you to everybody. If you could please rate us 5 stars. We're trying to catch up to this aforementioned podcast right now. They have 18 reviews on Spotify, and we have 15. So we just need 3.
We need 3 more.
Three reviews. 3 reviews. 5 stars.
4 to beat them.
5 stars. Don't come in and just give us a 1 star and then tank our rating. 5-star ratings from 3 people, and we will love you, those 3 people, forever. We can't tell who you are, but you can like DM us and tell us who you are, and then we will definitely make sure that you feel the love as well.
Yeah, exactly. No, you said it right, man. If we could just get a couple more 5-star ratings on there, we can jump them.
Oh yeah,
that's what we need.
We'll be over the top of them, and I don't know how long they've been going, but they seem like they've been going a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next week.
Adios.